All right, so we're back for another deep dive, and today we are taking on a topic that I am sure every cat owner listening has experienced at some point.
Absolutely.
We're talking about all those little mysteries that surround the cat litter box.
Yeah, those little surprises you find.
Yes, exactly. You know, those moments when you're just like, okay, what are you trying to tell me here?
It's like they're trying to communicate something, but we're just not quite getting it.
Right, it's like a whole secret language going on,
Yeah.
and we're left scratching our heads, pun intended, trying to figure it out.
Yeah. But hey, that's what we're here for, right?
Exactly. That's why we're diving into all the research you sent us, all those articles, studies, everything we can get our hands on.
Yeah, we're gonna really try and decode these litter box messages.
Exactly. Because, let's be honest,
Yeah.
we love our feline friends.
Of course.
But sometimes those litter box issues can be a real head scratcher.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, let's start with the basics, okay?
Yeah.
Cats are known for being super clean animals.
Absolutely. Meticulous groomers.
Right. So, when they decide to go outside the box, it's usually a sign that something's up.
Yeah, it's definitely a red flag.
Yeah, it's a big red flag. It's like their way of saying, hey, pay attention. Something's wrong here.
Exactly. And one of the things that really stood out to me in the research was how important scent is to cats.
Oh, yeah. Their sense of smell is incredible.
Way stronger than ours, and that's why those scented litters that we think smell so fresh and clean.
I know. I love those. They make the whole house smell nice.
Right. But for a cat, it can be like sensory overload.
Oh, wow. So like a super strong perfume, basically.
Yeah, it can be really overwhelming and irritating for them.
So ditch the scented litter, go for unscented.
Exactly. Unscented is the way to go.
Makes sense. So it's not just about the scent, though, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it feels like they're objecting to the litter box itself.
And you know what they might be? I mean, think about it from their perspective.
Okay, yeah, good point.
You sent this one study that talked about how much space cats need in their litter box.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Size matters, right?
Absolutely. It has to be big enough for them to turn around comfortably, dig, and do their business without feeling cramped.
So not a tiny little box where they can barely fit.
No, definitely not. More like a spacious suite.
Yeah, like a cat-sized bathroom, basically.
Exactly. And then you had all those articles about multi-cat households.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole other layer of complexity.
Right, because when you have multiple cats sharing the same litter box.
It's like trying to share a bathroom with your siblings during the morning rush.
Exactly. And that can lead to all sorts of territorial issues and stress, which can then lead to, well,
Litter box problem.
exactly. So that whole one box per cat plus one extra rule is super important.
Oh, absolutely crucial. It gives each cat their own space and reduces the chances of conflict.
Right. And speaking of space, location matters too, right? I remember reading that high traffic areas are a no-go.
Definitely. Cats need privacy and quiet when they're using the litter box.
Yeah, just like we do. Exactly. Would you want your bathroom right in the middle of the living room?
Oh, definitely not.
Exactly. So give them a quiet corner away from all the hustle and bustle.
So we've covered scent, size, number of boxes, and location. Got it.
Yeah, so far so good.
But now the real question is, what about the litter itself? You sent me a whole library on this topic.
Oh yeah, it's a world of its own out there. Clumping, non-clumping, clay, crystals, you name it.
I was actually getting overwhelmed reading through it all. There's so many options.
It's a lot to take in for sure, but there's one thing that kept coming up again and again in your research.
Unscented litter, right?
Exactly. Unscented clumping litter seems to be the gold standard.
Okay, but why? I mean, some of those scented litters are amazing, like a tropical vacation in a bag.
I know, right? But remember how sensitive their sense of smell is?
Right, so what's a delightful fragrance to us can be like a chemical attack for them.
Exactly. And on top of that, those added scents can mask the natural odors that cats use to identify their litter box.
Oh, so it's confusing for them.
Exactly. It's like trying to find your way in the dark with all the lights off.
Okay, so unscented litter it is. Makes sense. But what happens if I want to switch brands? Like, say I find a new kind that I think my cat might like better.
Ah, good question. You can't just suddenly dump a whole new bag of litter into the box and expect them to be okay with it.
Oh, really? They're that sensitive to change.
Cats are creatures of habit, and a sudden change in their environment, even something as seemingly small as a new type of litter, can be really stressful for them.
Okay, so no sudden litter revelations.
More like a slow and gradual transition.
Right, like easing them into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to gradually mix the new litter with the old litter over a period of several days.
So they get used to the new smell and textures slowly.
Exactly. That way they have time to adjust and don't feel like their whole world has been turned upside down.
Okay, so we've got the perfect setup, right? The right size box, the right location, the right litter, and we've transitioned smoothly.
Sounds like we're on the right track.
But what happens when, despite all our best efforts, things still go wrong? What if we find ourselves facing one of those classic litter box woes?
Ah, the mysteries deepen. Well, in that case, we need to put on our detective hats and look for clues.
Okay, I'm ready to channel my inner Sherlock Holmes.
Perfect, because your research actually had some great insights into some of the most common litter box problems and what they might be telling us.
All right, let's crack these cases.
Okay, so case number one, the dreaded peeing outside the box. It's a tale as old as time. You come home, ready to relax, and bam, there's a puddle of protest right on your favorite rug.
Ugh, the worst. Especially when you think you have it all figured out.
Right. So what's going on here? Well, one of the things your research highlighted is the importance of litter depth.
Oh, really? So how deep is deep enough?
Most cats prefer about 2 inches of litter, to really feel like they can dig and bury their business.
Oh, like a good, satisfying dig.
Exactly. If it's too shallow, they might feel exposed, and if it's too deep...
It's like trying to swim in a sandbox.
Exactly. They need that Goldilocks zone.
Not too shallow, not too deep, just right.
Precisely. And another common scenario is when they use the box for number 1, but not for number 2.
Oh, yeah. What's up with that?
More often than not, that's a sign that the box isn't clean enough.
So they're like, ew, someone's been here. I'm out of here.
Pretty much. They're very particular about cleanliness, and they might refuse to use a box that has any lingering evidence in it.
Oh, they're such drama queens.
I know, right? Which, again, is why that extra litter box can be a lifesaver.
Yeah, multiple options for the discerning feline.
Exact.
But what about those cases where a cat has been using the litter box perfectly for years, and then suddenly it's like they've forgotten everything they knew?
Yes, the sudden switch. That's a tricky one.
Like my friend's cat started doing this recently, and she's at her wit's end.
And you know what? The research was very clear on this point. Any sudden change in litter box behavior really warrants a trip to the vet.
Oh, really? So it's like a check engine light for cats?
Exactly, because while it could be something as simple as stress...
Or maybe they just decided they don't like the color of the litter box anymore.
Right, but it could also be a sign of an underlying medical condition like a urinary tract infection or even arthritis.
Oh, I never thought about that. Arthritis could affect their litter box habits.
Absolutely. Sometimes it can be painful for them to get in and out of the box or to squat.
Wow, that's a good reminder to pay attention to those subtle signs.
Right, because they can't exactly tell us what's wrong.
Speaking of signs, what about those multi-cat households where you have one cat who's like the litter box bully, guarding it like it's their personal kingdom?
Ah, yes. The infamous litter box bully. We've all heard those stories.
It's like a feline turf war.
Exactly. And your research actually had a whole section on this.
Yeah, what did they say?
It's all about resource guarding,
Yeah.
In the wild, cats would have their own territories.
Right, they're not exactly known for being pack animals.
Exactly. But in our homes, they're often forced to share those limited resources, like, the litter box.
So they're like, this is my domain.
Exactly. And the other cats might be too intimidated to even approach.
Oh, poor things.
Yep.
So what's the solution? More litter boxes.
Exactly. That's why that 1 box per cat plus 1 rule is so crucial.
It's like creating a sense of litter box equity.
I love that.
So we've talked about size, depth, location, cleanliness, and even the importance of a vet visit when things get weird. But I think the biggest takeaway for me is this. Even with the perfect litter box setup, there's one more piece of the puzzle we can't ignore.
And that is?
The cat's overall well-being, their mental and emotional state.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Because even with the fanciest, most spacious litter box, if our cat is feeling stressed or anxious...
It's all going to go out the window, right?
Think about it. When we're stressed, the last thing we want to do is worry about proper bathroom etiquette.
Oh, so true. So how do we create a stress-free sanctuary for our feline friends? What does a Zen kitty retreat look like?
That's a great question, and we're going to dive into that right after the break, so stay tuned.
So how do we create a stress-free sanctuary for our feline friends? What does a Zen kitty retreat look like?
One of the things that kept popping up in your research was the idea of environmental enrichment for cats.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about that. It's basically like creating a cat-friendly paradise, right?
Exactly. It's all about providing them with opportunities to express their natural instincts.
So like climbing, scratching, exploring.
Exactly. They need spaces to hide, to perch up high, to stalk and pounce on toys.
So basically, we need to turn our homes into giant cat playgrounds.
Well, not quite a jungle gym, but you get the idea. It's about making their environment more stimulating and engaging.
I'm picturing like a cat tree with a built-in scratching post and maybe a little hammock for napping.
Perfect. And don't forget those puzzle toys that make them work for their treats.
Oh yeah, those are great.
Well,
Keeps them mentally stimulated, right?
exactly. A bored cat is a cat that's more likely to get into trouble. And by trouble, we mean
Inappropriate litter box behavior.
you got it. But let's be real for a second. Even with the best environmental enrichment, life happens.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You move to a new house, you get a new pet. There are all sorts of things that can throw a cat off balance.
And those are prime times for litter box issues to pop up.
Exactly. And that's where that research on feline pheromones comes in.
Oh yeah. The cat aromatherapy stuff.
Exactly. Those synthetic pheromone diffusers can really help create a sense of calm and security for cats.
So it's like a little spa day for stressed out kitties.
You could say that. They mimic the natural calming scents that cats produce, which can help reduce anxiety and promote relaxation.
Wow, so it's not just a gimmick, there's actual science behind it.
The research you sent was pretty convincing.
That's amazing. So pheromone diffusers, check. We've got our environmental enrichment, we've got our calming scents. It sounds like we're on the right track here.
I think so too. But it's important to remember that every cat is an individual.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What works for one cat might not work for another.
So there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Exactly. It's really about getting to know your cat, paying attention to their cues, and being patient.
So it's like a constant learning process.
Absolutely. And sometimes, even with all the best intentions and all the right tools, we're still going to face some challenges.
Yeah, cats can be mysterious creatures.
But that's part of what makes them so fascinating, right?
I guess so. So what's the biggest takeaway here? What's the one thing you hope our listeners will remember from this deep dive?
I think it's this when it comes to our cats. A little understanding, a lot of patience, and a whole lot of love can go a long way.
Oh, that's so true.
Because at the end of the day, they're our furry companions, and we want to create a happy and harmonious home for them.
And a harmonious home means a happy litter box, right?
Exactly. So go forth, dear listeners. Embrace the litter box challenge. And remember, a happy cat is a cat who's much more likely to use their bathroom facilities appropriately.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the mysteries of the feline mind. Until next time, keep those litter boxes clean, those cats enriched, and those minds curious.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
So we've got our environmental enrichment, we've got our calming sense. It sounds like we're on the right track here.
I think so too. But, it's important to remember that every cat is an individual.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What works for one cat might not work for another.
So there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Exactly. It's really about getting to know your cat, paying attention to their cues, and being patient.
So it's like a constant learning process.
Absolutely. And sometimes, even with all the best intentions and all the right tools, we're still going to face some challenges.
Yeah, cats can be mysterious creatures.
But that's part of what makes them so fascinating, right?
I guess so. So what's the biggest takeaway here? What's the one thing you hope our listeners will remember from this deep dive?
I think it's this. When it comes to our cats, a little understanding, a lot of patience, and a whole lot of love can go a long way.
Oh, that's so true.
Because at the end of the day, they're our furry companions, and we want to create a happy and harmonious home for them.
And a harmonious home means a happy litter box, right?
Exactly. So go forth, dear listeners, embrace the litter box challenge, and remember, a happy cat is a cat who's much more likely to use their bathroom facilities appropriately.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the mysteries of the feline mind. Until next time, keep those litter boxes clean, those cats enriched, and those minds curious. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.